We are live. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Let me start. Let me say that a little bit slower. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. No matter where you may find yourself as you listen to this, and you're tuned in to another episode of It's a Black and White Thing featuring A1 and A War. I am your one half of the dynamic duo. I'm A1. You can call me Carlos. You can also call me Dan. You can check out every episode of It's a Black and White Thing by going to the podcast app of your choice, wherever you get the good podcasts. Search for It's a Black and White Thing and like the content. Give us 5 stars. Share the content there. You can also find us by going to YouTube, searching for Brains and Bars. Hit the notification bell, hit subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend. It's those boys again. And as always, I'm joined by the homie A War. A War, how are you, sir? Let me make sure we get this right here.
Hey, there we are. I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm
Uh
doing well.
Man, fresh off of a couple of very busy weeks in battle rap. Finally taking a little bit of time off.
Yeah,
What you got, what, at least a week or two before the next one?
yeah, something like that, man. The 17 days for the next one. So, the last one was what? 2 weeks ago. So yeah,
Yeah, against Wave 7, which was a dope event, dope event.
yeah,
I didn't get a chance to check out every single battle from that event, but I was in and out as the battles were going on. So good little John, good little John.
yeah.
We have a very interesting show for you today. Before we get jump right into the sports aspect of things, are there any what's the word I'm looking for? Is there anything outside of messy battle rap news? Is there anything else interesting happening in battle rap right now that we need to know about?
I mean, isn't Swamping easy this weekend? I think that's an event. Trench has got an event with Rosenberg and Truffaut and Swamping easy. So that'll be something to tune into. The I Battle Captain's Cup last week, something that I've been paying attention to. I think they've narrowed that down to just 4 guys left in the Captain's Cup, with Appa losing the title to Los Supreme. So with Los Supreme moved on, Homeschool losing to Archduke Red Cat. So I definitely haven't watched all of those battles yet. So that's something I'm going to try and jump in and check out, since I'm battling on I Battle at the end of May. But yeah, for the most part, those things, URLs outside 4 has been announcing some different battles for that card. That card's looking pretty good. Takeover Battle League's got Point Proven coming up May 17th. That's going to be a really good card, headlined by, I think, Elijah Strait and Rum Nitty, Loso Marv One, Sheet Happens Quest. So a lot of good battle rap, I think, should be happening in May. Like I said, me and Swamp are on the card with Prep and Authentic and some other battles, Dre Dennis and J2. So I definitely think there's a lot of good battles coming up in May. Good event last week from my battle, good event next week from Trenches. So yeah.
Man, great point about Easy versus Swamp going down this weekend. Man, let me see. Let's look at this full card right
Crept
quick.
up on us, didn't it? Crept up on us.
It did. Coffee versus Bonnie Godiva. Ace Amin versus Jay Moore, which has a little bit of a backstory to it. They've gone back and forth. Danny Myers versus King. Big matchup for King. As he battles one of the gatekeepers. Riggs versus Jay Murder, and Dre Majesty versus Presidential Dubs, man. So yeah, like May 4th. I don't know exactly. I'm pretty sure you have to go through the trenches. Normally they have host their pay-per-views on like their platforms or a different platform other than Rap Grid. So, make sure y'all, if you're not gonna be in Philadelphia to go check it out, man, go check that out. Check that out live. I'm gonna try to make sure I'm in the building pay-per-view wise for that one.
Yeah, and then go check out Jazz the Rapper's Funk Flex freestyle drop today. That's something dope for battle rap as well. And yeah, so there's in the midst of all of the mess and all of the ridiculousness and all the crazy. What's up, Top Spin? In the midst of all that, there's been some really good things going on. It's wild that we're already in May. Like, man, that's wild. Shout out to undergrad, and we might as well just start talking Christian hip hop. Like we got undergrad and Top Spin in the building. Might as well just change
Man,
the topics.
I forgot that Wes had moved to Chicago. I should have hit you up when I was there, but the next time I'm in Chicago, I would definitely try to make sure I touch base and we could try to catch up. Man, I mean, granted, I know you're not a big music guy like that, but I mean, for the CHH heads, I mean, if you've been following Lecrae, if you've been following, golly, I can see his face. Miles Minnick, you've been following him at all? They announced a self collab, not self collab. They announced a collabo album they're going to be working on. So I'm interested to see what that looks like. Miles is
Mhm.
from the West Coast, heavy on that West Coast sound. I mean, he's got some uh very interesting cosigns. DJ Head, who is affiliated with Kendrick Lamar. He's been on Funk Flex, not Funk Flex, Sway in the Morning, excuse me. So very interesting show. Very interesting show. Shout out to my homie Zach in the building, man. We about to get into this, man. Let's jump into it. Enough CHH talk for now. So NFL draft went down last weekend. Obviously, the biggest story of the draft, Shedeur Sanders, and his fall. And we're going to get to that in just a second because I know that's a part of the title. But before we do that, let's talk about the hometown team. Let's talk about the Chiefs. What did you think of what they did in the draft?
I thought it was good. I thought it was really good. I thought they would go running back a little bit earlier than what they did in waiting until the seventh round. But I thought the guy that they got in the seventh round was a. I mean, I don't like to use the word steal when we're talking about seventh round, but I thought it was a great value pick at running back for what they got. After the most of the top guys or the first six or something were gone, I think that would made a lot of sense. Um, Obviously, Tennessee fan loved Omar Norman Lott pick. I think he's going to be really, really good. I think he's going to do very well there in the trenches with Chris Jones. The defensive end that they got out of where's he from? I can't
Louisville,
remember.
Ashton Gelati.
Louisville. Okay,
I'm getting
yeah,
ready to
yeah.
pull up, and I'm going to pull up here. I'm getting ready to pull up their draft here. So this is his history, but you can see at the very top, this is what they did here. So yeah, Ashton Gelati out of Louisville. I really like Ashton. I watched him play against Notre Dame. Very powerful young man. He has a high motor. I know they've already made like the George Karlaftis comparisons. I think just based off what I saw from George in college and Ashton in college, I would say that the ceiling might be slightly higher for Ashton Gelati, in my opinion. Maybe he'll
Hmm.
prove me right or wrong on that. But I thought that was a very good pick for the Chiefs in that third round.
This Royals kid, man, his highlight tape, touchdown like machine, like seemed to be like a very sneaky good pick there in the fourth round.
Yep.
And I think they addressed the needs. I think Noel Williams, from what I've seen from him as well, like I thought it was a really good draft. And one thing about us is like the history of drafting. I mean, just look at these guys right here. I mean, if you're just looking at this list for the last 4 years, like they know what they're doing in Kansas City. They go get their guys and they become those guys. And so yeah, I thought they addressed all the necessary needs. And yeah, I'm excited. So I mean, it was necessary too, though, because I think the rest of the division did a very good job as well. I think the Raiders, Chargers, and Broncos all had really good drafts.
Man, listen. The Raiders, hey, Brock Bowers and Ashton Genty back to back years. Go get Geno Smith. You go get a new coach and Pete Carroll. I'm not saying they win a division. The division is still runs through KC, but man, Denver going and getting Jahdae Barron from Texas. I'm trying to think. The Chargers, I mean, they had no wide receivers. I think they went and got I think was it the young man from Ole Miss,
Yeah,
right? They get
Trey. I don't remember his name.
Trey Watkins, I'm
Trey
guessing, but
Williams or something like Trey Williams, maybe.
um but they go get Omarion Hampton, who, I was a big fan of oh gosh, who's the guy you snaked me for in the dynasty draft from Notre Dame, whose now name I can't remember.
Audric Estime.
Audric Estime, excuse me. Sorry. Audric Estime, I think he is a better version of that.
So you're a
Which
big
that's
Hampton
gonna
fan. Okay, just need to make sure I remember that one. All
oh my gosh.
right.
Um Shout out to my guy Zach. He asked, what was your take on the D tackle that y'all got from Tennessee?
Yeah, Tennessee, like we sub in and out a whole lot with our defensive tackles. So he's not a guy that's out that played every down. But he was just a very disruptive like run stopper. Like I mean, tackles for loss. Like just I mean, I can't say and remember a lot of like sack wise, like but I just remember when he was in, like you just had that feel like nothing was coming up the middle when Norman Lott was playing defensive tackle, and not only that, like personality wise, just energy wise, he's just instant energy, and
Mhm.
you know, I think that's just kind of his character, whatever. So yeah, I really thought I didn't think about the Chiefs picking him, before the draft because I wasn't processing D tackle like that for the Chiefs. What everybody, offensive line, running back, like what are we gonna do? And when they made that pick, I thought, does this makes a lot of sense, a lot of sense. And that's one thing about Rodney Garner, the coach for the D line at Tennessee, man, he's just done a great, great job since he's been there. You see Byron Young with the Rams, just very, very good. James Pierce Jr. went in the first round to the Falcons. Norman Lott. There's defensive tackle wise, like Tennessee has been producing, guys that are not really busts, guys that come in and show out.
Yeah, shout out to my guy Aaron Levy. Yeah, man. I'm old out here. You know what I'm saying? I'm old. I'm an old man.
Hey, man,
Um,
listen, no offense, Aaron, but listen, bro, your profile picture, go back. You can't be talking about people's hair. Like, my dog.
Listen, I don't have a lot of room to talk. I don't have a lot of room to talk. You got it. You
I'm
got
just,
it. Yeah, you got more than
he's
what I got. You know what I'm saying? So, shout out to Zach, man. This is mean. This is mean. Although
very mean, very mean.
I did
We don't
post
wish
I
that
did
upon
post in our group
anybody.
I did post in our group chat that Henry Ruggs is expected to be released from prison, and teams are interested. And I just did not think that that guy would get any looks. Now, that could be speculation. I forget
I
there was
don't
a
think
former.
you're very interested, but
I mean, so Josh Jacobs, I guess he was on some podcast and he said that teams were interested. And look, I mean, I guess I am for second chances. I just find it hard to think that that young man is going to get a second chance given everything that surrounds him. Obviously, maybe he has matured and learned from being incarcerated for 3 years, but I just don't know how advocacy groups will allow him back on the field. If people were showing up for Michael Vick like 5 to 7 years after the dogfighting thing, driving 100 plus, I think it was 130 miles an hour in a 45-mile-an-hour zone, hitting that young lady, and then she burned alive, her and a dog in the car. Bro, that's a tough one to explain to fans why you brought this guy in. So that being said, I'm gonna jump to the Niners real quick, man, and address our draft. I liked what they did. I don't, I have said, homies have been saying to me, man, what's going on with your team? They letting everybody go, they cutting everybody, yada yada yada. And I'm like, look, man, the owners, I think it's a little petty. The owners shelled out a lot of money. The season went into the tank. They were upset, so that's why you saw all these different guys walk out the door, especially on the defensive side of the ball. But I am excited to see what some of these young guys can do. I am really like Michael Williams, super strong. He's got size. He can play different positions along the line, which they need more versatility. They went and got a couple of defensive tackles, one out of Texas, another one out of Indiana. That was kind of a draft favorite if you followed during the draft season. They went and got another running back, which they love to do. And they
did they
got
get a
Jordan
running back?
Watkins, Jordan James out of Oregon.
Okay.
So I think he was a good running back for them. Jordan Watkins was a good wide receiver at Ole Miss, and so I'm excited. And they got a kid named Nick Martin. I know some people think that Nick Martin was selected maybe a couple of rounds too early, in part because he was coming off of a MCL injury that caused him to miss. Like he only played 4 games last year for Oklahoma State, but that dude was a heat-seeking missile. If you go watch the tape and watch the plays that he was making, instinctive. He got there. He got to the ball carrier quickly. When he got there, he came and showed up with some thunder, right? Like to lay the smackdown once he got to the ball carrier. So I am excited for this team. They needed to get younger. They were one of the oldest teams in the league last year. They got to re-sign Brock Purdy, hopefully not for $50 million a year. But they got to re-sign him. They re-signed Kittle. And so they got to get younger by necessity in order to try to replenish the team and move forward. And the last thing I'll say about this before we jump into talk to Shedeur, there was a article that the Athletic did about how successful organizations have been in the draft over the last 5 years. I forget who was number one, but the Kansas City Chiefs were number two. I know, I understand that, and I've said this on several occasions on this show. I understand that Howie Roseman of the Eagles gets a lot of love. He gets a lot of hype. They are the defending Super Bowl champions, so he deserves credit for building that roster. But for my money, over the last 5, I would say even maybe 7 years, you mentioned it when I pulled the draft list, history list up. You look over the last 7 years, 5 to 7 years. Brett Veach, for my money, has been the best GM in football, in part because he's also been drafting in the back half of the draft that entire time. They've won their division, I think, like 9 years in a row, something like that.
Mhm.
They're starting to get that kind of KU. If you remember the heyday of KU, we've won the Big 12 15 years in a row.
I hated that.
They're getting to that space where they are dominating the AFC West. Like you said, it's going to become more of a dogfight than it has been in previous years. These teams are getting better. They're catching
Mhm.
up. And so the AFC West might be one of the more competitive divisions in football this year, just because of everything that has happened with these other teams who are chasing the Chiefs. And I'm going to bring it up again. Yes, Zach, they're going to have to get the Brock Purdy contract right. I don't want to talk about it right now. I just want to wait until we get the numbers. I don't want to speculate. But yeah, like the things that Denver did, they already had Riley Moss. Shout out to DEI hires, Riley Moss, white cornerback in the NFL. They have obviously the reigning defensive player of the year, Patrick Surtain. They go get Jahdae Barron, who can probably play some safety, can probably play some corner, can play outside. He can be a Swiss Army knife. They're turning into a no-fly zone on in that secondary. So I cannot wait to see. I can't wait to do our dynasty draft. Don't mess with Amarion Hampton. I've already told. I already,
I'm good. I'm good. You know I'm good. I'm good. I won't touch him.
Yeah, you say that now. You say that now. I hyped
I don't
up
even think I have a
Austin
second
Eckler.
round pick. I have a first and 2/3 or something like that. So,
I have no second round pick either. I think I just have a first, a third, and a fourth. So if
okay.
if I'm gonna clip this, hey, to the dynasty league, if y'all want to, jump up to the first and offer me a first next year and a second this year, we can talk. Holla. Anyway, but let's talk about Shedeur, man. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about Shedeur, and don't do that to my guy Brock. I mean, you're not necessarily wrong there, but and not in the literal sense of the term. Let's talk about Shedeur, man. Shedeur Sanders. There was a lot of hype going into the draft season about him, about where he could go, where he could be
Here we go, guys.
drafted.
This is another podcast where we just skip over the number one pick and we move to talking about Shedeur Sanders. We
You
are
know what?
ESPN, diet ESPN right now. We talked about the whole first round, two different teams. Not mentioned Cam Ward one time. No highlight tape, no interview, nothing. Let's move straight to Shedeur talk. Come on,
You know
A1.
what? Let's treat Shedeur like what happened in the draft. Let's forget about him for a little bit. Let's talk about Cam
No,
Ward.
no,
Nah,
no,
let's
don't
talk
try
about
that
Cam
now.
Ward.
We know where your
Yeah,
affiliation.
nah. You know what? You're absolutely right. You're absolutely
Man.
right. Let's talk about Cam Ward. Like, do you think he'll be successful in his rookie season? Because I'm assuming he's going to be the starter. I can't believe maybe they'll start. Well, let's backtrack. Do you think they start him right away? Do you think they start Will Levis first and then let him develop on the bench and then bring him in maybe halfway through the season?
No, I think they start him right away. I don't think there's anything Will Levis does that, and plus, like, in the event Will Levis plays well in the first 4 games, then you have to ask yourself, like, now what are we looking at? Like, this doesn't make sense. Like, unless you're going to let Will Levis play half the season to the whole season, you know what I mean? And that's not going to happen. So I don't understand why, why you would start him there. But I think, I think with the Titans, they're not a very good team, but they're not they're not in a conference, I think, either that's, situationally, rough for them. I don't know what their first 4 games look like. But I think Cam Ward will be serviceable, good. I think he's going to be like Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, CJ Stroud, rookie of the year. I'm not going to sit here and say that, but I do think that he will give you some promise this year going into his second year that, like, this is our guy. They did their best in the draft wide receiver wise to put some guys around him. I forget who they picked. They got a good wide receiver in the draft, if I'm not mistaken. And then on the flip side, I don't know if it was an undrafted free agent, they picked up his buddy from Miami, the guy that had 2 billion catches or whatever. Reposado or whatever.
Xavier Restrepo.
Okay.
Xavier Restrepo.
All right, Reposado. So, but yeah, so like, I mean, I think that they're doing their best to put the type of guys around them that are necessary, but I'm not sure coaching wise, defensively, if that team is set up to make any kind of push. I think the big thing is he stays healthy, he stays upright, and that, his confidence going into year two is there.
Yeah, so they got a young man out of Florida, Chimere Dike. Hopefully I said his name right. They went and got Gunnar Helm from so in round
I like that. I
four.
like that pick from Texas, that tight end. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. In round four, they went completely offense that entire round. They got DK Helm and then Alec Ayo Manor from Stanford. And if you don't know who that is,
Oh,
the
yes.
he was the kid who torched Travis Hunter
Travis
for
Hunter.
like 13 catches and 225 yards and like three
Yeah.
touchdowns in
I
a game where they
remember it
came
was
back
one
and
time.
beat
I don't know if I was talking
Buffalo.
to you or whatever. I was thinking of that game, and I was referring to the Arizona wide receiver because I kept thinking like, "Yo, I remember this dude for Arizona, the guy that went 10th or whatever." I
Yep.
remember him going off, and I was in my mind. I was like, "But that's the game I was thinking about with that receiver." I was like, "Yo, he smoked Travis Hunter." Now we're all allowed to have a bad game, but yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, he smoked him. Absolutely smoked him. So yeah, so he is also there. So they try to, beef up. They obviously got Calvin Ridley there. So they're trying to invest into that team. They also picked up Khalil. What is that? Kyle L. Is it Kyle L like Superman or Khalil? But anyway, I'll go Khalil Mullings out of Michigan in the sixth
Okay.
round at running back as well. He had a really good game against USC. When basically they threw for like 13 yards and still beat the Trojans. So yeah, man, I think it's an interesting draft from them. I think so. I do want to salute Cam. The thing that I would say about Cam that as a positive is that at every level, he showed improve, right? He started at, I think, Incarnate Word is where he starts. He puts up numbers there. He goes from Incarnate Word to Washington State. He puts up numbers there. He leaves state, goes to Miami, puts up numbers there, which I don't
I thought he
know.
went to Houston or Louisville before watching, but no,
Nope,
I thought
nope.
he was
Three
somewhere.
schools, three different
Okay.
schools. You might be thinking of Tyler Shuck because he played about everywhere. He didn't play for Houston though, but I know he was Texas Tech, Oregon, Louisville.
Mhm.
I feel like there was another school in between there. It might have been a Washington school, Oregon.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember all the schools that he went to, but it's like three or four schools that he went to because he played for 7 years. I mean, he's 25, right? He's an
Yeah,
old
yeah.
man by NFL standards. No, I was Oregon, Texas Tech, Louisville, three schools. So, but no, those are the three schools that
Jeez.
Cam played for. He showed improvement at each level. I'm super interested to see what he will do in his first year. Again, I've been on record as saying I wouldn't have taken any of these quarterbacks in the first round. God bless Jackson Dart. I mean, we watched while we were at the KU Colorado game. We watched Jackson Dart throw three interceptions in like 3 minutes. It was one per minute, just
No,
about
it was 3 interceptions in 3 plays, I think. I'm pretty sure
something like that. It
one
was
of them
back
was
to back to
called
back
back
though.
something, and he just threw it right. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So so again, I'm looking at the first round to see if there was any other interesting players or stories that we can talk about before we jump into Shedeur. But I do hope that I do obviously for every player. I don't wish failure on anybody. I do hope that everyone will be successful. Again, I like the Marion Hampton. I didn't. I kind of understand, but don't understand Matthew Golden going to going to Green Bay. They already have three or four really good wide receivers. I know they lost Christian Watson for the year to the ACL injury. He can never seem to stay healthy, but I feel like they got like a really solid set of players already. So I didn't necessarily understand that one.
Hello, hello,
Um, oh, did,
hello.
did you lose me?
Hold on, no, hold on. I think I'm getting drafted right now. Somebody just called me and said I'm getting picked. Uh,
Hilarious. So with that being the segue, Zach posts this with Shedeur sliding down the draft. The viewership of the latter end of the draft was a record high. That may not be the sole reason his slide, but it was profitable. Absolutely. If I put on my tinfoil kufi, my tinfoil conspiracy kufi says that the NFL made the call to the teams not to have Shedeur drafted so people would be invested. I mean, look, we you made the joke about Cam and how like we were ignoring him, but that literally happened on the broadcast. And they went, Roger Goodell came out, he got booed. He goes, "Welcome everybody. Thank you, Green Bay. You've been a great city." And with the first pick of the 2025 NFL draft, the Tennessee Titans select Cam Ward, quarterback Miami. And on ESPN, they went Cam Ward, quarterback Miami. That's great. Okay, so Shedeur, where do you think his floor is?
No,
Like
you
that
remember when
literally
we were
happened.
watching it live, it was Shador's highlights that were up. You know what I mean? Like the entire time. We're like watching him at Jackson State. And I was looking, I was like, oh yeah, that's not Cam Ward, and I didn't even realize that they didn't air his interview, that they didn't like. And yeah, it's just wild. It was kind of sad actually.
It is. And I do feel like
We're not
ESPN.
talking about Eric Fisher. You know what I mean? We're not talking about something that's like an offensive lineman and it's just like, whatever. We're talking about a quarterback who is better, who is, yeah, it's just wild to see.
Who's a better pro prospect? I mean, by all intents and purposes, he was a better player than Shador. Like, I
Mhm.
mean, not that Shador was trash in college, but he was a better player than Shador at Miami, in my opinion. So to have the coverage go from here's the number one pick to we're just going to forget that, and it was crazy, right? Because we were watching it live. They even had the highlights package for Shador happening even while the Titans were on the clock. So you would have thought, okay, they have gotten their fill of Shador conversation going into the first pick, and now we're starting to focus on the teams. I mean, look, shout out to Mel Kiper. I hope Dion owe that man something. I mean, I don't know what,
Something.
because he was crashing out. I don't even really use that term that much, but he was crashing out on live TV to the point to where people are like, Mel, the NFL. It reminded me in the group chat when I was defending the NBA, and Jesse goes, "Bro, are you okay? Like, what is wrong?" Like, Mel was going nuts defending Shedeur. He's a top five player in the draft. The NFL doesn't know what it's doing when it comes to quarterbacks, and so there have been a lot of theories about why Shedeur fell to the fifth round. And I feel like so as the black part of this show, as the black person part of the show, I feel like I need to address our people for a second. I understand that a lot of you, maybe you don't watch as much college football. Maybe you do, right? Maybe you are tuned in and tapped in. But every time something happens to a black person we don't like, it is not some conspiracy by the man to hold him down. Here's the real. Let's chop this fable. Shedeur Sanders slid because he thought, and his father, there's another lesson to be learned in that as well. His father thought that he was Dion, right? He thought that he was as talented as Dion. And listen, as a parent, I love my son. My son has an affinity for STEM. He likes to play video games, and I like to think that my son is really great at those things. And that if there was some way for him to monetize that, I would love to think that my son could be the best video gamer and the best STEM person around. But that does not mean I get to say he's Steve Jobs, right? Does not mean I get to say that my kid he's the next I'm trying Bill Gates, right? Dion, you love your child, you think he's great, but you gave him bad advice. You told him to go out here and not take these interviews seriously. And this is a job interview. You told him not to take it seriously. You told him to tank these interviews trying to get to a destination in a draft where there wasn't a bunch of teams that needed quarterbacks. Most of the teams who needed quarterbacks, they drafted them last year. So there was only two or three teams based on all the movements that had happened prior to the draft that needed QBs. And so those were the teams where he needed to show his best. And it was reported that with the Giants, he didn't do that. He didn't give his best. And so the Chiefs, why would they draft Shedeur Sanders? For what? Right? Like you could just start going through all 32 teams and saying, well, why would they take him? Because at best he was going to be a backup and he was not going to, and you don't, again, you want your backup to be anonymous, essentially, and not have the head coach of a football team stop a press conference and say, my son should be starting, right? So the bad job of pre combine stuff, um the teams didn't think he was as talented as they thought he was. That caused him to slide. So I with that being said, what was your take on him falling, and what may be the reasons behind him slipping to the fifth round?
Yeah, I mean, I think the important thing is to remember is that like he slipped to the fifth round, but he slipped to like maybe maybe 10 or to 12 picks that we thought he would have been taken at. You know what I mean? Like, because there's not a lot of teams that are taking quarterbacks, like you said, and of those teams, thought maybe the Steelers were going to grab one. Obviously, the Steelers, decided, they're still in the whole Aaron Rodgers lottery, like that's how they feel. Or they, for some reason, have faith in Mason Rudolph or whatever. But like what you said, like teams took quarterbacks last year. Next year, you got Archie Manning, you got Drew Aller, you got Grant Nussmeier, you got Lenore Sellers, you got there's a good quarterback, a better probably quarterback class next year as well, than what is this year. So teams are also looking at that, like, okay, is Shedeur Sanders really going to change my team to the point to where I'm going to want him on a team without the ability to draft a Archie or Drew or whatever it may be. But I do think that a lot of it had to do with Dion. I wonder, like, the parallel between LeBron and Bronny, and just the pressure that LeBron put on Bronny. Just with him being as outspoken as, wow, he's better than half of the NBA already, and he's this, that, and the third, and like you were talking about, just that father son, whatever it may be. And I think that a lot of what at one point, I think last year, Dion, or the year before, and I don't know if it was actually a quote he said, but I remember him saying, like, he won't go into the draft if he's not being taken first overall. I think there was like a, you know what I mean? And you're on mute still. Yeah, so like, there's just a whole bunch of just unnecessary, and like you said, I mean, I heard some of the same rumors of the interviews and him not even working out for certain teams, and these are the only teams, and different things like that. And it's just kind of like, at the end of the day, like, guess what? You're gonna come and play for whoever picks you. So we're either gonna get you for high or we're gonna get you for cheap. And the 4 or 5 teams that we're gonna pick him, there's only probably four or five teams in the NFL that we're going to draft Shedeur Sanders, because, like you said, remember when Tebow was on the outside? Nobody wanted to bring Tebow in as a backup. They didn't want all of what comes with having Tim Tebow in their locker room as a backup quarterback. They didn't want that. And a lot of these teams, we're not bringing in Shedeur Sanders to play behind Sam Darnold. We just gave Sam Darnold this amount of money. You know what I mean? We want him to feel right at home. Like, hey, we want you to play the same way you played last year for the Vikings. We're not bringing Shedeur Sanders. Like, there's a whole bunch of teams like that. And so, of the 4 or 5 teams that are going to pick him, they're like, all right, well, guess what? I have a feeling he's going to be around. And look, guess what? The Browns traded up. They traded up to get him. Like, they said, all right, the time has come, and traded up and grabbed him because of all of those extracurricular things. But I think most understand is, like what you said, Cam Ward. You said, you didn't have him as like a first round grade, just kind of overall or whatever, but you understood whatever. I think the big thing is to realize that Shedeur Sanders is probably a 3rd to 5th round draft pick quarterback. I mean, look at the guys. I mean, look at the Hendon Hookers. Look at the some of these other guys who in college, looked just as good, if not better, against better competition that went 3rd round, 4th round, 5th round. Like, and so it's the travesty is that everybody says he should have went 1st and he went 5th. You know what I mean? And that's kind of and Mel Kiper. I mean, he really didn't do anything but put himself in that same. The NFL has no clue how to. I mean, his track record in addressing quarterbacks has not been the greatest either. So, shout out to your DeShone Kizer, and him being in love with DeShone Kizer. Mel Kiper was.
I thought
Another
Deshaun was
former
going.
Brown. Another former Brown.
I thought DeShone Kizer was going to be the guy too. So this comment says basically saying politics were involved isn't far from what you consider conspiracies. But again, but to me, a conspiracy would involve, like, I've heard collusion, I've heard blackball, and I'm like, well, you can't blackball someone that you draft. Like, he fell from where people thought he should have gone, but like he got picked. A collusion would be, because I even put in the group chat a couple times after, especially after the third round. I'm like, I don't know if this dude's going to get drafted. When we got to the fourth round, he still wasn't drafted. I'm like, I don't know if this dude's going to get drafted. And so, again, is he? And here's the thing that he has to consider. To me, as a fifth round pick, you are easily cuttable. Like, you are the low. Like, you might think that you are the most talented quarterback in that room, but you are the one who could be the first to be gone
I think the
if
big
you don't
scratcher for me
come in with your head on straight.
was the Dylan Gabriel the Gabriel pick, what, 1 or 2 rounds before. I think that's kind of where the head scratcher is. But like you said, yeah, like, I mean, your fifth round pick with 5 quarterbacks right now on on the team. You're looking at practice squad. You're looking at, and that's why all these Canadian football leagues are out here, signing rights to him, because, I mean, at the end of the day, I do think that I think a lot of people thought a lot of people were on the whole Pittsburgh is gonna draft him train, and that was I don't know if who had a conversation with Mike Tomlin, or why he felt like, and I don't understand why. I don't know why Pittsburgh didn't draft him, honestly. I mean, I understand why they didn't draft him at 21, but I thought Pittsburgh, you know, would turn around, but
Man, that like, so
understand why the Saints
Pittsburgh.
went with Tyler Show. I understand that one, because
I
I
so I,
to me, like, aren't Shedeur and Spencer Rattler like pretty similar?
I
I
think
would say,
Spencer has a stronger arm. I think Spencer has a
yeah,
stronger
and I would
arm.
say that height
So
wise and just whatever. Like, Shows
yeah,
was
yeah.
6'5", stand back. Shows probably going to be Ryan Mallett. He's probably not going to pan out. You know what I mean? He's going to be, like this. But I do understand saying, hey, this one didn't necessarily work. And Spencer Rattler might have been better kind of out of college, than Shedeur.
I, so I don't know if you've seen that. I think we might have talked about this, and maybe I posted in one of the group chats. But like, the Tyler Shuck pick, and again, I watched him play several times. He's a good
You're not as
quarterback.
bad as your worst play, and you're not as good as your
You're
best play.
not
But
as
yes,
bad, but
I
God,
saw
that's a
that. So
really
I thought it was
bad
Will Levis
play,
out there
man.
again. I thought it was.
Oh God, that was a terrible play. So I don't. So I get your point of, we already have Spencer Rattler, so that might be redoubling our efforts and going against Shedeur. I duly noted. I agree with you at 100% on Pittsburgh, though. You're hoping and wishing that Aaron Rodgers is going to show up.
Yeah.
Um, you went and got Will Howard in the sixth round. Zach says this is Mason Rudolph 2.0. Maybe he is.
Yeah.
But you went
I
and
wouldn't
got
mind if
him, and I
anybody
just,
hit Will Howard in the head with a helmet either. Just let
oh
you
my
know
gosh,
that.
get that hate out your heart. But like, you're waiting on this guy, and you just don't. I don't know. I don't know. I wouldn't wait on Aaron Rodgers, not based on what I saw last year. I get he
Yeah.
played better to close the season. I just don't get it. I will say this for the Browns, in terms of picking 2 quarterbacks in this draft. I'm not mad at that, because in a draft where you just don't know, at worst, maybe between the two of them, maybe you found your backup. Maybe you found a guy, if you're going to dip into the 26 draft, and go and get a quarterback. Maybe that's going to be this guy's going to be the backup for whoever you get in 26 or whatever. Or maybe Kirk Cousins becomes available. Maybe that's what you got in Dylan Gabriel, or Shedeur. I don't know. But I don't know. Like, I hope he's successful. If the one thing you mentioned, the LeBron thing, the one thing I would say to men who are generational players whose kids are coming behind them playing that sport, I would say you need to keep somebody around who can give you that reel. Because when the reporting started to come out after the combine, that one, people did not have Shedeur as a first round talent, and that two, that he tanked the interviews at the combine. Someone should have been able to sit down with Dion or Shedeur him by himself and say, listen, this is what teams are saying, right? You need to start at that point, you need to start taking it super seriously. Try to get back into the interview rooms with these teams that you blew off or were not serious with and show them a different side of you, a more focused side of you. Because had he simply did that, he probably still doesn't go in the first round, but he might go in the second. And then for sure, he's going in the third. Because the other thing I've seen people bring up is, well, what about all these people who have, sexual assault? And what about Johnny Manziel? And what about Baker Mayfield? First of all, Baker and Johnny were better college players than Shedeur, respectfully. Number two, when those men got into those interview rooms, you didn't hear stories about, oh, they were a terrible interview. Johnny Manziel got drafted by Cleveland because he switched up on them and interviewed so well. That was what gave them the confidence to go and get him. And so in that moment, they needed someone to keep it real with them to say, hey, Prime, this not 1985, and this kid ain't you. You can't just show up and do what you want. You got to take this a lot more seriously than you were before. And that would be my advice to him now. My advice to him would be like, shut down the social media. Don't be on Twitch. Don't be doing all these rap songs and these music videos. You need to show these coaches that you are here for football because as it stands today, you are not their starter. Maybe you go into training camp and you blow them away and pull a Russell Wilson and go from being, after a second round QB who ends up being a starter his rookie season. But right now, you have to prove to them that I am all about football. And I would, whatever endorsements he's already agreed to, fulfill those obligations, but I wouldn't sign any new deals. I wouldn't be shooting any commercials. I wouldn't be online. I would show them that I am here to win and I'm here to be the quarterback for your team for the next 10 to 15 years.
Yeah, what do you think it does? Do you have any effect on Shiloh? Like, do you think, like he's kind of like he signed undrafted free agent, didn't he? With I think the Buccaneers, maybe.
Correct.
But does any of that same stuff, like in regards to how Deion talks about both of his sons, or was it just pretty much Shedeur? Do you think Shiloh gets a fair share at like trying to make a team?
I feel like Dion is more level-headed about Shiloh than he is Shedeur. I think
Yeah,
Dion knows that Shiloh is, again, the genes only went but so far with those two, right? Like they are still good athletes, but they are not the same caliber athlete as him. And I think for Shiloh might actually be better suited for like an in the box safety, right? Than he is playing out in space. I don't think playing out in space was his strong suit. But
yeah,
Shiloh, he can lay a lick though. Like he can come into the box and he can be aggressive and he can hit you hard when you're trying to run the ball. You got some bubble screen going. But I don't think to me his best fit is special teams and see
yeah.
if he can build on that. So I think he is more level headed about him. Whereas Shedeur, I think Shedeur, he was groomed to be a quarterback. He was groomed to be the leader. He was groomed to be that guy. And he thinks he's the best quarterback in the league. And that's fine to believe that, but you also have to temper it with some type of reality. Shout out to Ursami. He said they wouldn't code switch, but I'm not asking them to code switch, right? Like I'm not asking them to I'm not asking him to change the way he talks per se. I'm saying show that you can. They always use this stupid analogy of the quarterback is the CEO of your team. He needed to show that he could be that. And again, listen, I work in corporate America. There are times when I don't want to talk about, well, can we revisit this conversation? I would like to spin the block on this conversation sometimes. Right. When we agree to a plan, I would like to say, okay, good, we'll revisit it. Sometimes I just want to say bet. Right. Like I want to sometimes, and I'm not a huge slang guy, but sometimes I want to use a little bit of slang at work. But I know I'm in a space where I can't do that. So where I can and with whom I can within that corporate space, I will.
Johnson, exactly what block will we be spinning today? Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, so he just again, I'm not asking him to code switch, but I was asking him to be more professional. Be more professional, take it more seriously, and show that you are the quarterback that this team. Because when you see all of the quotes, all of the videos of him and Cam working out, and he says, "Hey Cam, you want to come shoot a video?" And Cam's like, "No,
Yeah.
I'm a football player."
Yeah.
He's like, I play football for a living. That's what I do. I don't do videos. I don't do streaming. I play football. Like, that is what people want to see, whether or not that's true or not, right? If he was uber talented, he could be Anthony Edwards. Remember when Anthony Edwards said he wanted to be a great rapper coming
Yeah.
into the draft? And we were like, son, are you serious?
Yeah.
Now, if Anthony Edwards released a rap record, we wouldn't think anything of it. Why? Because he is
So he's gonna get
posterizing
the late
people.
30 tonight.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? So now, if Anthony Edwards wants to drop a record with Future, he could do it because
Yeah.
he is shown and proven in the league that he's one of those guys. So that would be my thing with Shedeur. Show and prove that you're one of those
Yeah.
guys, and you can go.
Shedeur, don't be the next LiAngelo Ball. Don't be the next Jello. I'm not trying to see
Man,
Shedeur at halftime of the Pro Bowl coming out rapping. All right.
ah, man, swerve in that corner. Whoa, whoa.
Yeah.
Like, nah, we don't want you to be that man. So I want him to be great. I hope he's great. I hope all of these young men fulfill their dreams and have great careers, and except against San Francisco, Kansas City, be great. But yeah, anything else you want to say about Shedeur?
No, I think that's pretty much summed it up. I wonder who plays in more games this year, Shiloh or Shedeur? Shiloh makes the special teams. He can play it. He can play
Yeah,
in.
that's what I was thinking, man. If he makes it as a special teamer, he could definitely play in more games than Shedeur. I would take Shiloh in that case, because to me that's his path to early playing time is special teams. So I would take that.
Yo,
Final one. You know how they say clothes don't make the man. In this case, the dad don't make the player. Man, it's true. It's true. You know,
yo,
um, rooting for them all. Yeah, shout out to Jimmy Horn Jr. I think he might have went to Carolina. That is
yeah.
a big guess on my part, but I feel like it was Carolina. But yeah, shout out to Jimmy. Hopefully he is. Yeah, he got drafted by Carolina. Hopefully he makes it and is successful young man that I am also rooting for. All right, so let's turn the page, man. Let's jump into the NBA playoffs, man. First of all, let me salute the NBA. Obviously, we've had some super duper blowouts, the likes that we have not seen in a very long time. But we've also had a lot of entertaining basketball be played. We've had, dunking buzzer beaters. We've had what happened
Last night.
last night with Milwaukee, a 7-point lead with 30, I think 35 seconds left, and they blow the game to get sent home for the season. We've had a lot of really good games. So I guess let's start with, I think tonight we got what
Yeah. Houston and Golden State starts in 2 minutes.
and then we also have, and then the nightcap is LA and
Yep.
and Minnesota.
Mhm.
I want to go back to game 4 of Houston and Golden State, and I'll ask you this. Tell me you agree with this. Draymond Green should have been kicked out of that game.
So he got a flagrant and a technical. That doesn't you're not kicked out if you get a flagrant one and a technical, which is news
They
to
did
me.
not give him a technical for that one. They only gave him a flagrant, which allowed him to stay in the game. Had they called it a technical,
Right.
a double tech, he would have been kicked out of the game.
Right. So he had gotten a technical earlier,
Correct.
and then he got a flagrant because so like I said, I didn't know. I thought it was mix and match, like when you go to the store, it's like, I thought you could get a technical and a flagrant and you're gone. Like I was when he put his his jumper on or his warm up, I'm like, oh, why is he still sitting on the bench? I'll say this much. Listen, that slow motion is a hell of a drug. Everybody know slow motion cameras is a hell of a drug. All right. You can watch just about anything. I didn't think that when he rolled over that he kicked down on Tari Eason's head. Okay. I didn't think that he did that or whatever. However, when Tari Eason ripped him, like he grabs Tari Eason's jersey on the flip side, you know what I mean? He's doing Draymond Green things, you know what I mean? That are just like bro, like what are we talking about here? And so then Tari Eason, shoves his legs to the side, and he grabs Tari Eason's jersey from here, and it's just almost like, you know who you are. Like, already one technical in. Like what? Like, you know, so I definitely thought he should have been out of there, you know, but I didn't think that the actual rolling over and kick down on his head was like I mean, when they slowed it down, it looked like he kicked him in the back of the head, but I didn't think you could really make much of that. But what, you know, Draymond Green's not going to code switch, right? He's gonna beat Draymond Green apparently on the court in the biggest games of the playoffs at the biggest times, you know, and you know, the Rockets know that, you know, and the Rockets got a few guys on their team I like, and they got a few punks that I'm not, you know, like I'm just not sold on them or whatever, and I can't tell if I like the Rockets yet or not, but I don't like Dylan Brooks. I'm not a fan of Şengün. I like Şengün's offense, but I'm not a big
Really?
Şengün fan. Yeah, I like his offense a little bit, and I'm not a Jalen Green is kind of disappointing me. I'm telling you, man,
Yeah.
the guys I like for the Rockets are Amin Thompson, Fred VanVleet, who's always just going to be Fred. Listen, if Fred VanVleet goes 7 of 9 from 3-point land, and you're the number 2 seed, you should have won this game by 20
You should have.
points. Like, you got
So
this man shooting like what?
shooting lights out. So, and I think that's kind of my main takeaway from the series. They could possibly be the one with the 3-1 lead if they could just make free throws.
Yeah.
You lose a game by 3, and I lost track. I stopped counting, but at a certain point in the fourth quarter, they had missed 10 free throws. They were shooting sub 50% from the line.
Yeah.
While the Warriors were shooting somewhere in the 8, they were like 11 for 12 at some point. And so, like, if you're going to take on a team like the Warriors, like the Warriors are a savvy, like if you go play pickup basketball and you play with the same group sometimes, like when I was a kid, there was this group. I lived in Virginia, and there was this group of older men who we would play against, and like they knew every trick in the book, right? Like, so again, you would blow by them, they would subtly try to tug your jersey to keep you from getting, and it's one of those things where you're not necessarily going to call it, you're going to play through it because it wasn't one of those things where it was enough to slow you down, right? They knew all the little trick shots on the block. They knew exactly how to set a screen perfectly to free up, right? When you play those types of teams, you need everything to go in your favor. And the easiest thing to do is the free throw line. And so they've had 2 games where they've missed 10 or more free throws, and games that ended up being, you know, somewhere between 5 to 7 point margin of victory for the Warriors. So if you could just simply make your free throws, you are likely the ones in the driver's seat of this series instead of now. You're not going to beat Golden State this team 3 games in a row. Not without some catastrophic injuries happening to Draymond, Jimmy, or Steph. And even losing one of them, they can still beat you. They did it already, right? They beat them the one game with Jimmy. I think
Jimmy was gone. Yeah, they beat him.
yeah,
Yeah.
they beat him. They beat him in one game with Jimmy, but you know, so I mean,
Mind
the
you, Jimmy put
Warriors.
together a quiet 24 second half points. You know, like
He stunk it up in the first half, and I will give the Rockets this, right? They have tried to muck the game up. They've tried to make it ugly, be
yeah,
super physical, and it has worked. Like this has been a street fight of a series, but you have to capitalize in ways where you can be the one, I guess, leading the charge here. You can be the one dictating the terms in terms of now it's a 2-2 series, now it's a 3-1
yeah.
series, and so they're going to go home. We're going to see. We're likely getting Warriors.
Probably T Wolves, right?
So if I said as this game gets ready to kick off, scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you that the Wolves win one more game out of the next 3?
Uh,
10 being super,
7.
no doubts.
I'd say 7.
7.
With the Warriors,
I
I'm
go.
more at a 9.
Yeah, they're done. They're done. They're not going to beat. They would have to beat the Warriors twice on their court.
And that's the crazy thing is the crazy thing is no, it's Houston now, Warriors, and then back to Houston because Houston's the 2 seed, right?
They're
Yeah.
2 seed. You're right.
Yeah, and then the Lakers are the 3,
They're the
right?
higher seed. They're the higher seed. So they would get to win. They would have to win at least one game in Minnesota, and then they would get 2 home games if they got to
Yeah,
game 7.
basically this is both the underdog teams getting the 1-1-1. So they're both down 3-1, and Minnesota and Golden State both just have to win 1, but they only have 1 at home. So That makes it a little bit more okay. I'll take it down a little bit. I'll take down to I think my confidence in the T Wolves is probably at a 6, and with the Warriors is probably like closer to an 8.
That's fair. That's fair. I think,
Luca
yeah, I was
and
about to say,
LeBron. You got Luca and LeBron. When I look over at the Rockets roster, I'm like, somebody's got to go off. Who is it? Who is it? Like who's the guy? You know?
and Jalen Green was supposed to be that guy, and it's just not happening.
At
It's
all.
just not happening.
And you like, our men will come in and get you 10 or 12. Cool. Jabari Smith Jr. get you, 6 or 8 or whatever. But like I said, you're looking at Fred VanVleet to score 26. You're looking at Şengün to get you a 20 and 10 double, and you still don't know who is they need one more. And VanVleet's not going to do that every night, Whereas
You wasted
like
the
the Lake,
Fred VanVleet game.
I'm saying all this, and I'm going to turn around and bet all my money on Minnesota tonight now because I'm thinking like the Lakers and like Luka and LeBron, like there's a part of it to me that's like we're not going home tonight. Like we're not going home tonight. Like I feel very confident about that, which is why I'm going to turn around and bet the money on the Timberwolves because that's just how my FanDuel account's set up.
So I think here's my concern with the Timberwolves. The Timberwolves have been very Jekyll and Hyde-ish this year. And look, maybe this is one of those styles make fights, and they have a deep roster. They have a team that is better big men. The Lakers don't have any big men. And so this is just
Yeah,
we're going
Jackson
to over.
Hayes, whatever has been. I don't even know if he's played. Like
I mean, he gets like the first like 8 minutes, and you never see him again.
yeah,
They just play
that
small the
whole
rest of
like
the time.
Luca and Jackson lob, like that stuff has not been here for the
No,
playoffs. No,
no.
that's not.
So hold on. So hold on, Ursula. I'm gonna get to that question in just a second. So they during the regular season they would win like five, going to 5, 6 game winning streak, right? And then they would drop like 3 in a row with two of the losses being to like the Spurs and the
Yeah,
Wizards. And you just go, wait, guys, what is happening, right? And so again, maybe it is a styles make fights thing, where they just need needed to get to the playoffs and everything switches to zero on your win loss record, and you get the right matchup and the Lakers who don't have depth and you play defensively, you play well defensively, and that's all it is. But I can see them dropping the next two very easily.
do you
Very,
selfishly
very
want
easily.
Lakers and Warriors, or are you like, no, it's Ants
I
time,
don't
pass the
care. I don't
torch?
so no, because like I feel like NBA media is very lazy. And so Lakers Warriors is just easy for them. They don't have to think about it. They don't have to invest in knowing who the players are,
Yeah,
right? Because it's Luca, LeBron, Steph, Draymond. That's easy for them. But
yeah.
having if somehow it was ended up somehow being Rockets, Timberwolves, well now it's like, well, dang, I didn't watch them all year. So I didn't start watching Houston until the final month of the season. So now I got to try to cram and figure out who these guys are.
I ain't gonna hurt you.
So I don't.
BP Pajinski, he's benefited a lot off of how they're playing Steph Curry in this series. He has been, one of those guys to watch. And I never really watched the Post kid, and I said that's his last name, Post. You know what I mean? But the Tracy Davis. What was it, Jackson Davis?
Jackson
Like,
Davis.
yeah, he's an afterthought. Like I mean, he went from starting damn near every game, what, 2 years ago or a year ago, to
Yeah.
like he doesn't even play. I would like to see how many minutes a game he gets over the last probably 20 or 30 games because he's not, you know,
Gosh, who is his dad? Who is his father? Because they said that, and I
Dale
went,
Davis,
"Wait,
right?
what?"
Who's Dale
Dale
Davis?
Davis. Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you. Dale Davis is his father. So Quentin Post, I believe, was a second team All ACC player at Boston College. He was really good at Boston College. And so he's provided them with a nice little spark, man. Nice little inside outside game. Like to me, this could be the guy that ends up becoming a starter for them down the road. And so good for the Warriors for finding that guy and being able to develop him. So I want to get to this question right quick from Ursami. He goes, I know this is off topic, but Katie to the Rockets, would that get them over the hump? Yes, but you still would need more shooting. And what are you giving up? Because if Phoenix is probably not going to want Jalen Green back because that's just, they already got D Book
They need
and think
KD
of
and
the young man.
they need a Gary Trent Jr. I don't know if you saw Gary
Oh,
Trent
he went
Jr. yesterday.
bruh. I mean, he had two great games in that series, and then to have it all end at the end when the ball goes between his legs and
Oh,
goes out of bounds. what a heart, like, bro, that's the type of loss that would make me stop being a fan. Like I'd be like, I'm done with Minnesota, Milwaukee, excuse me. But yeah, but like they need more shooters, and that's the one thing they don't have. And so if they had someone who a KD would help them immensely, especially in late game situations, because he's a guy who can get his own shot, who can also create for others.
Mhm.
But they would need at least one more guy with a reliable jump shot. And to me, if I'm Phoenix, you're giving up Amen Thompson.
Oh yeah.
Like if he's not to start, if he's not on the table at the beginning of the negotiations, don't call me. Like don't bother.
Those Twins are quietly very, very good. Like I mean, they've come on towards the end of the year, and when you're in the playoffs, you get all eyes are on you. They've probably been doing a lot of it all year. But Amin and Asa are both very, very good, and the teams are better when they're on the floor.
They just got to, if they, well, one, they need to learn, get better at the free throw line. That's number one.
Yeah,
Get better at the free throw line and develop a consistent 3-point shot. I'm not asking them to be Steph Curry or even Anthony Edwards, who I think broke the record for most three. Or no, he had the record.
Malik Beasley.
Malik Beasley. Well, Anthony Edwards ended up with the most threes in the season though, because it was like they had a little back and forth at the end of the season about
That's
who
right.
would be the
Yeah,
leader. But I
yeah.
mean, I'm not asking them to be either of those two gentlemen, but just become respectable because then they're so good at driving and especially at finding other players and dishing that it would just open up the rest of the game, open up the rest of the floor to them if you have to respect that 3-point shot from them.
Yeah,
But yeah, like if I'm Phoenix, any discussion with KD starts with him,
yeah,
right? I don't necessarily Jabari Smith Jr. I'll take Cam Whitmore off your hands, but those three and picks are bare. That's a starting point.
yeah,
And if
yeah,
you're
yeah.
not willing to start there, then forget it. So yes, KD would be a huge help, especially from the free throw line, especially in the game situations. Shingun, the one thing that frustrates me about Shingun is I feel like, especially when Draymond is on him, it feels like you ever seen that meme of Karl Anthony Towns trying to back down DeMarcus Cousins? And there's like a look of anguish on his face while DeMarcus is like,
Yeah,
and you got Karl Anthony,
yeah,
he's like
yeah.
looking. I feel like that Shingun against Draymond,
Draymond,
where
yeah.
he's just not. Yeah, it just
Seems like
he
he's in
gets
his
so
head a little
far.
bit. He seems like he's in his
Yeah,
head a little
and
bit.
it seems like he gets so far and he goes, okay, I can't back him down any further.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
let's jump talk about some other series right quick before we hop out of here. Knicks and Pistons. Great series, great back and forth. Listen, I have been telling people since probably late December, early
Yeah.
January, the Pistons, every game they play is entertaining. Every
Very
game is
similar
close.
to the Kings, 2 or 3 years ago. When
Yes.
a team that just wasn't, and then they got to the playoffs, and you're like, told you.
So let me say this before I ask this question. I know people give Shea Gilgeous-Alexander the foul merchant tag. No, that really belongs to Jalen Brunson.
Jalen
That is
Brunson. Yeah.
Jalen. I respect the heck out of his story. I respect the heck out of his talent and what he has been able to build for himself. But he is super frustrating to watch, and the referees give him the benefit of the doubt on a lot of calls. There were calls at the end of that Detroit game. They called a charge where he was already falling backwards. His feet were moving. He wasn't set. He got a foul call where Asar swiped down. He didn't touch him. They still gave him the foul call. It's a tough watch for me with him. But your level of confidence that New York can close out the series in Game 6
Yeah, I think New York closes
in
it out.
Detroit.
Yeah, Detroit looks better on the road, honestly, than they have in Detroit. I think New York closes it out, man. I think that secondary superstar of Karl Anthony Towns is just what Detroit is lacking, man. Listen, I always knew Karl Anthony Towns could shoot that thing for like a big or whatever, but dog, that game 2 games ago, that the foul that yeah, of course,
Oh my gosh.
Carl Anthony turned into freaking what's Losa always say, TJ Warren in the bubble. Like TJ Warren in the bubble. Like, wait, what? Like Carl Anthony
He
Towns got
got
crazy.
busy. The way he closed out that game 4, man, unbelievable. Great. That shot from the corner fading away over the
Mhm.
backboard, then hit the logo 3, man. Like,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And I
Absolutely.
think
Yeah,
that's the reason why the Knicks end up closing out the series.
yeah,
It
and
sucks
again,
though
it's
because the Pistons, I mean that it was a foul, and it's a foul down 1. You get 3 shots. Like they should be up 3-2 at home. You know what I mean? Like, and that's frustrating.
And I think that's the problem for me when you. So first of all, that game, that particular game was super enjoyable because shout out to the homie Cotton. We used to when he used to ref our games, we used to have this joke about Cotton's not going to call anything in the paint. So you go in, you take your life in your hands when you go to the bucket because
That man
he
didn't
if
blow
it's
the
a
whistle when the ball went out of bounds. That's why I knew he wasn't gonna blow the whistle on a foul. The ball went out of bounds. He didn't even like it was a turnover. He didn't even blow the whistle. He's like, y'all got it.
but like you were players are going into the paint getting absolutely mauled and there was no whistles. But my issue is on jump shots, you got to call the fouls on jump shots. And y'all give Jalen Brunson everything. So if you're going to give Jalen Brunson incidental contact on jump shots, then you have to call that shot to close the game. And they didn't even wait to the 2 minute report to say we messed up. They went in the locker room and said, yeah, we screwed that up. And so it's just you can't have that happen. You can't have that happen. I agree. I think the Pistons have not. There's some record, right? They haven't won a home game since the last time they were in the playoffs, which was
Yeah.
what that the end of that new era that they had. So I mean,
Yeah.
I am skeptical that they're going to be able to get the win, even though Hart was banged up at the end of that game. Obviously, Brunson's dealing with a sprained ankle, but you know what? Actually, I'm gonna support the homie Jesse. I got the Pistons pushing this to Game 7. I do think the Knicks will take home Game 7 in Madison Square Garden. All right,
Rockets are up
Nuggets.
12 right now, and they've hit 8 for 8 from the free throw line in the first 5 minutes. So, so they listened to our advice. They're up 20-8, and they're 8 for 8 from the free throw line. The Warriors have not attempted a free throw yet. So,
Yeah, but I feel like they've also blown a bunch of leads. They'll do this. They'll jump up on the Rockets early. And that's what I say about that series in particular. Both teams have jumped out to sometimes double-digit
yeah,
point leads, and then in the span of like 3 possessions, it's now a 2 point
boom,
game.
boom, boom.
So,
Yep,
all right, Nuggets Clippers. Do Nuggets close it out?
I
This is
do think
tomorrow,
so.
by the way.
Yes, I do think the Nuggets close it out. I just Jamal Murray, Jokic, man, they're just getting good minutes from all their guys. Christian Brown, my bad, I know it's pronounced. Michael Porter, like, yeah, I just think the Nuggets are the Clippers, a good team. They're definitely a good team. I just don't think that they're there yet. I think they're missing, one more piece. Norm Powell has where's he been? Like, I
Yeah,
think
let's
that,
see. What did he do last week? He only had 12 points in 32
yeah,
minutes.
yeah, we
And he
need
was
we
the
need
sixth
we
man
need
of
more
the
out of him.
year. Yeah, yeah. I mean, Jamal Murray. Listen, if you follow the at Brains and Bars Twitter page, I put Jamal Murray top 10 bucket getter in the league. Normally in the playoffs, he turns up. He turned up big time last night. 43 points from him in 40 minutes. I mean, it's a long. It's you are when you already got the best player in the world on your team. Who Jokic only went for 13, but when you
Yeah,
have the best player in your world
he
on
had
your
triple double.
team
I
and
mean, yeah, he didn't have a good
triple
offensive
double.
game at all.
Russ had 21 points in 25 minutes. Like when you getting contributions, Aaron Gordon goes for 23, right? So we're
That
talking
actually
about
might be kind of like Russ going for 21 because I don't think he's going to go for 21 again. You know what I mean? But
yeah.
Aaron Gordon is another guy that gets you buckets when you need them.
But I mean, those three guys go for 87 combined points. Like it's going to be a long night for you if those three guys are going for 87 points.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, so I'm going to go this one. This series has been so entertaining. I'm going to hope for a seventh game because it's been the best first round series of them all thus far.
yeah. I mean,
Let's
this last
let's
night's game was the first kind of, I guess, blowout. As you
Yep.
would call it. But every other game has just been must watch TV.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that's it. That's all the series. The Milwaukee,
You think
I'm
Giannis is gone, or what's like?
so I want to close the show on this. Hold on, let me pull this up because Marcus sent this to me. I got to get into Telegram to actually get to Twitter so I can get it.
Don't pull the group chat up, bro. Don't put it live on the. Don't pull the group chat up.
I am not gonna pull the group chat up. Hilarious. So this is from Bleacher Report, and they list 4 different destinations that Giannis, or three, I'm sorry. Here are 3 teams that Giannis, let me know if you can see that.
I can see it. So
So
Rockets, Thunder, and Warriors.
Rockets, they would give up Jalen Green, Jabari Smith Jr., Reed Shepard, Cam Whitmore, and 3 first-round draft picks. That's actually a really great haul
Right.
for Milwaukee to really reset their team. The Thunder will offer Isaiah Hartenstein, Cason Wallace, Nikola Topic, and 4 first-round picks. And then the Warriors would just give up Jimmy Butler and 2 first-round
Yeah,
picks.
we know that Warriors is not happening.
I'm not
Yeah.
even sure why they even put that on there. I think they just
Yeah.
did that for clicks.
Yeah. I'm like, engagement
So
farm.
of those four, like which one makes the most sense to you?
The
Or three,
Rockets,
excuse me. I keep
definitely.
saying four.
Yeah, no,
Interesting.
the Rockets. That makes the most sense for Milwaukee. Like, I'm not. I mean, Casey Wallace is a defensive player. I don't know Nikola Topic like that.
He
Um,
gets no burn for real.
yeah, the Thunder's 4 picks now. I mean, I don't know what those look like. Are they from other teams? You know, because the Thunder's picks are never going to be lottery picks, right? Like, I mean,
They are from. I'm pretty sure those four are going to be from other teams. So let me up wrong one. Let me jump to a different one. Thunder, because like they have I think 2 this year. Well, depending on what happens in the lottery, they can have 2 this year, and they will have I think another 2 next year. Let me see. Right now, the Thunder have their 2025 pick. Um, I'm sorry, not true. They have Miami's 2025 pick, no protections on it. They have a pick swap with the Clippers. They have Philadelphia's pick this year, which is protected 1 through 6. So if Philly somehow lands outside the top 6, that pick goes to OKC. And they
okay,
also, well, no. And then next year they have Utah's pick, which is protected 1 through 8. They have their own. They have says, oh, that's the second round. Sorry. And then yeah, so they have 3 this year, 2 next year, 2 in 2027. And then finally, that's when they finally kind of start to run out of draft pick, of at least multiple first rounders. So again, you're talking about potentially a Dallas, Philadelphia, Denver,
I just
2027,
don't see.
Atlanta, Utah.
I think Milwaukee says, "Nah, you keep Casey Wallace. We want Jalen Williams." Like, you know what I mean? Like,
That's fair. That's fair. So maybe selfishly, I thought that the OKC Thunder made the most sense.
mhm,
Because you get Hartenstein, who's a really good big man. You get Casey Wallace, who he's a really good defender, but maybe there's more there, right? Like no one
yeah,
saw Shea Gilgeous-Alexander becoming what he became. Maybe he
yeah,
can be your SGA. Topic. I mean, he's got who knows, right? That's the unknown. But the 4 first-round picks, I think you're right though. I did say Oklahoma City, but the Rockets might make the most sense, especially when you're rebuilding, because you get a bunch of young talent. And I think Reed Shepard could be the shooter that Houston needs, but isn't ready yet.
yeah.
And so yeah, I think that's the one. But can you imagine Giannis on the even just if they give up what's on that screen? So you still would have Jalen Williams. You still got Lou Dort. You still have
Like, there's no reason. Like, we have no excuse. We're playing for an NBA title every year for the next 4 years. Like, what are we talking about?
it's canceled Christmas. Because there was also when Denver started to fall apart and they fired Mike Malone, there was like I saw KG and Paul Pierce say, "Hey, well, what if Jokic went to Den or went to OKC?" And I'm like, "Excuse me." I'm like, I normally don't like to even think about these situations because I think it cheapens the product. But like Jokic and OKC, like you said, we're playing for a championship every year.
Yeah,
Who's
yeah.
stopping us? If you have SGA, Jaden Williams, and you got like and Jokic. But let me say this: I don't think it's going to happen. But I do hope that Giannis comes out and says, "I'm not going anywhere." And at that point, I'm going to remove this off the screen because I don't want to think about it anymore. I hope Giannis says, I'm committed to the Milwaukee Bucks, and I hope that they build a team around me that can compete for titles. And here's why. Look at Dame Lillard. Everyone came out and said, you got to leave, Dame. You got to leave Portland. You deserve better. You're never going to win a championship there. So he finally acquiesces to the outside pressure. He leaves everything. He loves Portland. He still has a home there. His support system still stays there. Goes to Milwaukee. It's not what he thought it was going to be, right? They haven't been out the first round in the 2 years he's been there. I think they might have got gentleman swept the first year, gentleman sweep again this year. and now you've torn your Achilles. Portland has started to build a roster. It's not championship level yet, but there's some very intriguing pieces on that roster, right?
Hmm.
You could have stayed there. They could have still built that around you, and you could have been happy.
Yeah.
Versus you've chased this chip. Listen, we think, right, on paper, Giannis to OKC, instant title contender. Like you said, multiple title contender. It's not guaranteed. And so instead of chasing the ring, I hope he simply says, you know what? I'm gonna shut down all the speculation right now. If the Bucks trade me, it will be because they have made the decision to move on from me, not because I have requested anything. Stay where
Yeah.
you at, man. He likes Milwaukee, he enjoys the city. Stay there, bro. Don't move. Don't leave. Because the grass ain't always greener on the other side. So
Yeah.
any final thoughts?
No, I think Milwaukee also needs to make him know. I mean, I think that he knows. I mean, his little post game speech after Halliburton's dad did and everything. Like it seems to me that Giannis is a good dude, man. He's an insane basketball player and just seems to be a very solid level headed superstar.
Listen, I know like in our friend group, you all like to kind of hold me up as like some paragon of virtue, and I'm just like a really great guy and yada yada yada. And I'm not gonna sit here and act like I'm not a decent person. But if I would have been Giannis on that court yesterday, and his pops comes out and stands in front of me and holds that flag and starts cursing at me, oh, Malice at the Palace 2 is about to
what
happen.
what
Because
would have been
I
your go to finisher? Would it have been an RKO? Would it have been what would it have been?
oh, it's choke slam. I am
Choke
grabbing
slam.
chokes, grabbing him by his throat,
Can you
raising him
imagine
to the
Giannis
sky. Oh
puts
man,
the
like
puts the towel on his chest, folds his hands?
man, throw. He doesn't have hair to throw back, but yeah, man, eyes rolling in the back
No.
of my head. The dead man has made it to Milwaukee. Like, bro, like what, bro? And y'all, you know how pissed you got to be. I mean, he basically pulled a U and Verb when he goes forehead to forehead.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You know how pissed you got to be to go forehead to forehead with somebody in the moment. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And so the fact that he was able to not beat the dog crap out of that man in front of the whole world, like he earned my respect right then and right there. But like you said, to go on to make the comments that he made about, listen, man, I feel like you win with grace, you lose with grace, and so like
Yeah.
I want to win. I know sometimes emotions get out of hand. We talk, we squash it, whatever. Man, I would have been like, oh, what was Samuel L. Jackson said? I forget what's the name of that movie where the racist killed his kids and he ends up killing them. And they're at, or no, the racist killed his kids. I don't think he ends up killing them. But like he's like, what do you think should happen to him? I hope he burns in hell. That would have been my
Yeah.
response. That would have been my response about his father. I hope he burns in hell. Giannis, did you any regret putting your hands? No, and I do it again. Bring him in here right now. I'll beat him down again. You know what I'm saying? So I would have turned into D-ball Friday, like straight up. Like I just would
Yeah.
have lost it. So
Pacers are a sneaky good team, but they're still a year away. I don't think that they make it past in the next round.
I mean that Cleveland series is going to be really good. And low key, whoever wins Denver, LA against OKC, I got OKC, but that's gonna be a sneaky tough game. Tough series for OKC as well because those are two really, really good teams. And LA is a really good coach team. Like obviously jury's still out on David Adelman, but man, that's gonna be a series. That's gonna be a
Uh,
series. And also I'm looking
Really?
forward to Boston and who does Boston face in the second round? Oh, whoever. Well, that's not true. It I would rather see Detroit because New York's record against the top teams, I think they only won one game all season.
Yeah.
So I assume that would be a sweep. Unless Carl Anthony Towns starts doing what he's doing in these playoffs. But
Because Van Vliet's hit three threes in the first quarter again. He's going crazy.
man, man, we'll
Yeah.
see. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But yo, that's been our time, man. We appreciate y'all kicking it with us, hanging out with us tonight. Please remember you can check out every episode of It's a Black and White Thing by going to the podcast app of your choice, searching for It's a Black and White Thing, leaving a comment, give us 5 stars. share the audio version of that. You can also check us out here live on YouTube. We're also live on Twitter, we're live on Facebook from the fan page, as well as my personal page. But search for Brains and Bars, hit the notification bell, subscribe. Again, talk to us in the comments, tell a friend to tell a friend. It's those boys again. Until next time, it's been a black
And white.
and white thing, man. Hey, yo, Trenches going down this weekend, May 4th. Super duper grudge match, Swamp versus Easy, the black captain. Real quick prediction out the door. Who you got on that?
I got Easy. I think
Interesting.
I think he's due for a win. Swamp obviously been more active, just got done battling chess. I don't want to act
Really
like
good battle, by the way.
I don't want to act like Swamp's, preparing for me. Swamp's going to prepare for me after the Easy battle, obviously. But I would just say like Swamp's just is a lot more active, and Easy needs a W. I mean, he needs a win, and they both have good ways of talking to each other. I think Easy's might be a little bit more effective, especially in the trenches, man. I mean, come on now. We know where Easy's playing at home, and yeah.
All right. So tickets and pay-per-view, guttercity.com. If you're going to be in the building, man, go to guttercity.com over pay-per-view. That's where you need to go to watch. All right, man. We'll holler at y'all next week. Y'all be easy.